the Chinese city of Shanghai, Tuesday.
It began with an exchange of gunfire between Philadelphia police and members of a radical group holed up along with their children in a city row house. Then a fire, apparently touched off by police, spread to dozens of other homes. Good evening, I'm Ted Koppel in Washington, and this is Nightline. We'll have the latest on that continuing confrontation in Philadelphia, and we'll discuss whether the tragedy could have been avoided.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
The group calls itself MOVE, M-O-V-E. Its membership is predominantly black, and while it describes itself as a back-to-nature movement, that may be an overly benign description of a group that has terrorized its neighbors and has a history of violence. Back in 1978, Philadelphia authorities tried to evict MOVE's membership, failed, and then literally tried to starve them out. The blockade back in '78 lasted 55 days, cost Philadelphia over $1 million, and ultimately ended in violence anyway, with a policeman being shot and killed, others badly injured. Apparently, Philadelphia authorities were expecting the worst again today, because last night, residents of the area were ordered out of their homes by police. Just before dawn today, police surrounded MOVE headquarters and ordered the occupants out. They refused, and during the day, the violence escalated. With an estimated 10 to 15 adults and children inside the house, shots were exchanged. Literally thousands of shots. The house was bombarded with tear gas and water cannon. Then, early this evening, police dropped an explosive device on the roof and fire broke out. As Michael Connor reports, Mayor Wilson Goode of Philadelphia says there was no alternative.
It's always the worst case scenario. And what we see here is the worst case that could in fact happen, which is in fact the loss of property and perhaps lives.
For Philadelphia's mayor, Wilson Goode, it is indeed a worst-case scenario. A row of houses in the southwest part of the city ablaze. The unfortunate and undesired effect of police attempts to seize a group of radicals known as MOVE, who lived in one of the houses. The fire started when a police helicopter dropped an explosive device, still unknown, on the roof of the house in question. As the blaze began to spread, police say 3 armed members of MOVE managed to escape from the house into a nearby alley. They traded shots with police sharpshooters, making it dangerous and difficult for firefighters to stop the blaze.
What we have out there is war. And I knew from the very beginning that once we made that decision to go in there, it would in fact be war, because they intended to have a violent confrontation.
The drama began this morning at dawn when police approached the house, attempting to evict those inside. They were met with a hail of gunfire. MOVE is an unorthodox, back-to-the-earth organization, opposed, members say, to technology. Neighbors claim large numbers of stray dogs and cats live in the group's homes, and that both animal and human waste is spread in their yards, attracting rats. In 1978, Philadelphia police tried to evict the group from another house. Gunfire broke out, and 1 policeman was killed. Today, even before the fire started, neighbors argued over the city's use of force.
This is not the way to deal with it. Regardless of how they live, it does not merit the taking of lives.
We have laws to govern. We got laws, but how you gonna tell anybody how to live? I couldn't come in your house and tell you your floor is dirty, you need to scrub it.
You can't live next door to me and have dogs and cats and rats and throwing human feces out.
But tonight, the mayor defended his actions.
We cannot permit, under any circumstances, ever again to have one small group hold this entire city hostage for any period of time.
Ironically, the mayor has sought to avoid a confrontation with MOVE since he took office a year and a half ago. Tonight, major fires are still burning, and members of the group are still at large. This is Michael Connor for Nightline in Philadelphia.
Joining us now live via telephone from his office in Philadelphia City Hall, the mayor of Philadelphia, Wilson Goode. Mr. Mayor, bring us up to date, if you would. What's happening right now? How many of the homes have been destroyed?
We have, at this point, Ted, about 36 to 40 homes, which either have been will, by the time it fires out, be destroyed.
Now, let me just ask you about those 3 men that we heard Michael Connor talking about. I assume they're men, 3 adults in any event, who were armed, who made it out of the home. Are they still at large?
Yes, we had 5 people to come out. To my knowledge, 3 men, 1 woman, and 1 child. The woman and child have been taken into custody and are being treated at the hospital. The 3 men are still at large, to our knowledge.
Now, if the object was to get people out peacefully, or if at least the object was to contain violence, then clearly you failed, right?
Well, I think, Ted, that what we have here is a kind of limit on the number of loss of lives. I know that we did, in fact, lose property, but I will trade a house loss and fire any day for life lost. And I believe as long as we can continue to restrict and limit the number of people who will die, I'm pleased with that. My concern all along, and the reason I did not want to act until the very last minute, was we had children in there. And I did not want to go out there and put those children's lives at risk. But I'm convinced, Ted, that there was no other way around. This group has made it known for a number of years now that they intended to have violent confrontation with the police. They're out to destroy the system that we live in. And there was no other way around. We had to, at one point, sooner or later, go in there and extricate them from the house.
Mayor Good, it could be argued they're not the ones who came out after you. By you, I mean the city, and city officials went in after them. What danger did they pose to the city of Philadelphia?
Well, basically, the issue here is, first of all, Ted, that the people in the house did, in fact, engage in fire first. They are the one who essentially engaged in fire first. The second thing is, I want to point out, is that we had 4 people in the houses who were wanted by the police and other authorities, and we had, in fact, warrants for their arrest. They started out the first thing in the morning by our asking them to peacefully surrender, as you would do with any ordinary kind of warrant. They simply told they would not come out. We then attempted to basically force them out with water and with tear gas. They returned water and tear gas with gunfire. I think that having spent a lot of time in the city trying to work for a very positive city, there's no other way around some difficult problems. And I don't know any other way to deal with this problem other than to simply try and make arrests of people who have broken the law.
Mayor Good, one final question to you. The fire was started by the police, right? A police helicopter dropped some kind of, what, percussion device on...
Ted, to my knowledge, that is true, although there are some speculation around the fire might have been caused by people inside the houses themselves. So I don't know at this point, and I think that based upon what I do have in front of me, however, I would say that the chances of the fire having been started by police is probably better than 50-50.
Do we know how many people are left inside that house?
We are unaware of anyone who has lost a life. We have no casualties to date. We do know that some people came out. We do not know at this time whether all came out or not. We do know that at least 3 people who came out have not been accounted for.
And no idea yet on how long it's going to take to bring those 40 houses which are on fire under control.
We expect that within the next several hours they will in fact be under control.
All right, Mayor Good, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll talk live with Benny Swans, head of a Philadelphia neighborhood group that has tried unsuccessfully to negotiate with MOVE in the past. And with Philadelphia Judge Wilhelm Nauer, who was chief prosecutor in 1978 when members of MOVE were convicted of killing a policeman in a similar incident.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Canon Copier.
Introducing a high-performance machine for your office. Canon's NP7550 copying system. 0 to 50 in 60 seconds flat. Automatically shifts to the right paper size. Zooms up and down. Does two-sided copying from two-sided originals and sorting all automatically. That's why Canon's NP7550 is the automatic choice. So step on it. You've got deadlines to meet. For information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
The BMW 5 Series is composed of two luxury sedans. The 528e that could embarrass the automotive establishment with sheer technological prowess. And the 535i that could embarrass it with sheer performance. Which one should you choose? That depends on which part of the automotive establishment you'd rather embarrass. For a test drive, contact your local BMW dealer.
They came in 1930. They came in 37. They came in 42. Cars that set the standard for high performance came to Sunoco. Now they're back in a magnificent collection of glasses featuring 6 classic cars, each glass a $2.50 value for just 79 cents. Pick up a different one each week with any fill-up from economy to Sunoco's Ultra, the highest octane gasoline available. Sunoco's high-performance car glasses. Get them now before they're a thing of the past.
I'm a hairdresser in Ohio, but I'm a beachcomber in New York.
I love New York. I'm a tugboat skipper in Nova Scotia, but I'm a wine sipper in New York.
I love New York. New York is a summer wonderland. Call now for your free vacation guide and discover a whole new you.
I'm a star on Broadway, but in New York, I'm just part of the scenery. I love New York.
This is Hangzhou, the Chinese version of Niagara Falls, where young newlyweds start their lives together. Join me for a special look at Hangzhou when Chronicle goes inside China.
Joining us now live from our affiliate WPVI in Philadelphia, Benny Swans, Executive Director of the Crisis Intervention Network, a group that has tried to negotiate with members of the MOVE organization in the past. He has also been on the scene today, in fact, just came back. And also at WPVI, Judge Wilhelm Nauer, who served as chief prosecutor when members of MOVE were convicted in 1978 in the killing of a policeman during a confrontation some 3 miles from where today's incident is taking place. Mr. Swans, you know, you must have heard what the mayor said just now. He claims it would have been impossible to end this any other way, short of violence. What do you think?
We had the opportunity to talk with MOVE yesterday evening around 10 o'clock. Clearly, they had no fallback position. They basically wanted all of the members that have been locked up in the 1979 shooting released. When you negotiate, there's generally 2 persons participating in that process. In talking with MOVE, there was much more of a discussion than a negotiation. I think there's a lot of Tuesday-back or quarterbacking occurring at this particular point. I think it was a lose-lose situation for everyone around. Both the residents of the block, I'm more than certain, feel a sense of loss. MOVE feels a sense of loss, and the city of Philadelphia feels a sense of loss.
Let me ask you this. You've talked to members of the neighborhood, other residents of the neighborhood. What is the prevalent feeling there, that these people genuinely constituted some kind of threat to the rest of the community?
I think it basically talks about who you talk to and where you talk to them at. If you talk to the residents on the block, and we did talk with them last year about this time, they had some legitimate concerns. They're hard-working people. They purchased their homes. They wanted to upkeep the block. So clearly they were much more involved and clearly were much more critical in terms of activities of MOVE because they had to tolerate it. Persons that did not live on the block felt a little bit more sensitivity to the MOVE organization and not necessarily to members of the block. I mean, even in talking to my own family members, there were varying opinions. But I can clearly say that I think that everyone is lost in this situation. The neighborhoods, MOVE, and to some degree the city of Philadelphia. Everyone wanted it to turn out different. I'm more than certain of that. I'm more than certain of that in terms of the city administration and the residents of the block. And I know many neighborhood people that were involved in the process of wanting to negotiate, wanting to formulate some agreements.
All right, Judge Nauer, what we have now is clearly a disaster in the city of Philadelphia. You've got 36 to 40 homes, according to the mayor, that have now been destroyed. He says at this point no lives have been lost. It's difficult to see how this thing can be concluded without loss of life. No other way to end this? These people really constitute that much of a threat?
That's correct, Ted. They did the same thing this year that they did in 1978. In 1978, they tried to negotiate with them. They had police out there. They had Monsignor Devlin, Walt Palmer from a group similar to the Crisis Intervention Group. They tried negotiation. They were out there. The police were exposed negotiating with them, and during that period of time, shots rang out. A policeman was killed. 4 other policemen were almost killed. This was a confrontation that MOVE sought. They said that they were going to do this in 1978, and they said it again in 1985.
All right, if we could turn the clock back just a few hours, though. I mean, here they are. The worst thing I've heard said about them, beyond the fact clearly that they have weapons and that they are dangerous when attacked, the worst I've heard said is that there was human and dog feces around the place and that the kids are living there under what can most charitably be described as unsanitary conditions. Is that the worst of it?
No, sir, it goes much deeper than that. They had threatened the neighbors. There were valid arrest warrants for terroristic threats, for having guns, for threatening people. There were threats made against the police as well as the neighbors on the block. There was statements made by the MOVE people themselves that they would cause a confrontation, that they had tunneled into other areas where they were going to blow up the block and blow up the rest of the neighborhood, and that they wanted this confrontation. They had arrest warrants which were being served. The people resisted the serving of those arrest warrants, and that's when the confrontation began. After the initial shooting this morning, there was a lull all day in which negotiations could have taken place, but no one came out. As Mr. Swan said, they had no fallback position. Their position was, you release the 9 or 10 defendants who were convicted of murder in 1978, you release them from jail because we feel, in their own mind, that they were improperly convicted.
All right, Mr. Swans, Judge Nauer, thank you both very much.
Thank you, sir.
When we come back, we'll talk live with civil rights attorney William Kunstler and with Frank Bowles, an expert in hostage negotiations.
Introducing the fuel-injected Honda Civic CRX SI. It's a rocket.
You are about to see a remarkable demonstration. Here comes Fujifilm with color pictures so true to life. It's a real breakthrough. Fuji HR Films. Fuji's advanced technology has developed ultra-thin color layers unlike any other film in the world. The thinner the layers, the sharper the picture, and the truer the color. Get extraordinary Fuji high-resolution films and get the true picture. Fuji 35mm disc and 110.
Out! Out! You're out of your mind! You're a disgrace to umpires everywhere!
Long! So's your nose!
When you're feeling a little drier than usual, you need more than the usual ginger ale. Schweppes, with real Jamaican ginger, bursting with Schweppervescence.
This is a tennis ball. Ever seen one of these before?
Pretty cool, Mr. Moffat. A lesser man would have crumbled.
Schweppes, more than the usual ginger ale.
Sally, who took the yellow pages? Honey, have you seen the yellow pages?
No.
Susie, where are the yellow pages?
Sally had it last. I did not.
Come on, I need the yellow
Over the years, one book has been in more homes, helping people throughout New England find more goods and services. The 9X Yellow Pages.
Mom.
It's always there when you need it.
Oh.
At your New England Lincoln Mercury dealer, some of the best things in Lynx are free. Announcing the new specially equipped Mercury Lynx. Buy a special value option package that includes these features and get $643 worth of free options. Free automatic transmission, free AM/FM stereo, free dual mirrors. And now, qualified buyers can get 8.8 annual percentage rate financing on any new 1985 and a half Lynx.
We won't be satisfied till you are at the start of the
Here now is the very latest information that we have. The Philadelphia Fire Department says that the fire in Philadelphia in that 36-house area, 40-house area, was brought under control at 11:42 Eastern Time. Philadelphia police say that they have 2 of the adult residents of that house now in custody. 2 are still at large. They plan to engage in an investigation of the house in what they call a labyrinth of tunnels under that house beginning tomorrow morning at first light. Joining us live now in our New York studios is civil rights attorney William Kunstler. He has frequently defended members of radical groups. And Frank Bowles, former head of the New York City Police Department hostage negotiating team, now involved in training crisis negotiators. Mr. Kunstler, can you see any, well, go ahead, second guess what the Philadelphia authorities have done?
Ted, I think they moved too fast, even though they say there's been a year and a half of negotiations and a year and a half of problems. They know this is a group which is quick to anger. They know of the paranoia that resulted when John Africa, one of the leaders of the group, was beaten by Philadelphia policemen in that shootout in 1978. And while I sympathize with Wilson Good, whom I believe I represented against then Police Commissioner Rizzo many years ago in Philadelphia, I think they knew the problems here, and there's sometimes you got to just lay the black letter of the law down and let things wait. I worried at Attica when they moved too fast, and we all know in this city with Mrs. Bumpers in another eviction case, you had a similar problem, not as widespread.
But let's take a parallel problem, which is precisely the situation you referred to back in 1978. In 1978, Lord knows they waited as long as one could possibly wait. They mounted a blockade. They tried to starve them out for 55 days, and at the end of it, the result was essentially the same. Not the kind of fire we have today, but violence, policemen being killed, firemen being injured, policemen being injured. I mean, there is a history now, and that history does not speak well of MOVE.
I know, but Ted, that very history was one that should have made them wait here. They knew of the history, and knowing of it, I think it was foolish to try to evict them today, and the real thing was to try to evict them. Talking about arrest warrants and so on is sort of meaningless. They went in to take them out of there. MOVE knew they were going to be evicted. They knew what happened in 1978. They know the hatred that many people have of them, and I think that to go in like that was a mistake, an understandable one, but a mistake.
Let me jump over to Frank Bowles for a moment. Frank, you are known as a man of extraordinary patience who, when a situation demands waiting it out, has certainly done that in the past, has counseled it in the past. Was this one of those occasions?
Well, I wasn't down there, so I don't know all of the facts. But I think the biggest key part of this is the fact that there was gunfire coming out and automatic weapon fire coming from that particular building. Yes, we would like to wait as long as possible. As a matter of fact, we say we contain and negotiate as long as the job takes to go. But along with those options of containing and negotiate, we also have the options of the use of an assault, the use of sharpshooter, and the use of chemical agents. And not being on the scene and knowing all of the nuances, I can't say whether or not they didn't wait long enough. We have had incidents where we negotiated 5, 6, 7 hours, and then we used a diversion. And part of that was our negotiating while our assault team went in from a different direction and made the arrest, made the rescue of the people who were being held. And that's a judgment question that you have to have all of the facts. And so I don't know. I know that they did wait. Whether or not they waited long enough or whether they waited too long, we will have to see after all the facts are brought together.
All right. Explain to me, and I hear your concern about not making a judgment about something that you have not personally participated in, but the use of that, I gather it was some kind of a percussion bomb, percussion device, dropping it on the roof. What is the point of that? Because, I mean, what resulted from that, apparently, is an absolutely devastating fire that's ruined the homes of a lot of innocent people.
You're very correct there. I believe well, there are 2 reasons you could use that device. That's a percussion grenade. It's used as a distraction. It's used as a means whereby you can get a tremendous amount of light and a tremendous amount of sound without any shrapnel blowing around against people. It was first used against the terrorist operations in Mogadishu by the Special Air Service when they assisted GSG-9. Now that is used as a diversionary technique. Now in this particular situation, if it were used on the top to make a loud sound to have the people come from the upper part of the building out, I feel it would be done correctly in that you never want to chase people into a building and chase them up to the top floors, because once you corner them in the top floors, it becomes a shootout between the people involved. And so we always try to get the people and flush them from top down.
Let me just turn back to Bill Kunstler for a moment, and I guess the question I have is where does society's right come in here? Is society not entitled, and I'm really speaking now of that particular neighborhood, which apparently had been harassed a great deal, in some cases intimidated by these folks. Doesn't society have a right to turn to its representatives, that is the police department, and say, get rid of these people for us? They really represent a hazard to all of us.
No question about that, Ted, but when you consider that the cost of getting rid of them is the burning of 36 homes of the very people who asked perhaps the city to get rid of them, it's too high a price to pay.
Now, that does seem, Bill, to have been an accidental outgrowth of all of this. I mean, I really don't believe, and I'm not sure that you do, that percussion grenade was dropped with the intent of causing that fire.
No, I'm not even suggesting that. But the use of it, and it has an incendiary quality to it, the use of it, I think, was ill-advised. And I think that the going out with the warrant in the morning, going out with the eviction warrant, with knowing that MOVE would take that as a hostile affront and that gunshots would result from it, I think that that was a mistake. Now, like Frank, I'm not there, and I'm not on the scene, and I sympathize with Wilson Good and the problem that it must have been to him, both as a black man and as a mayor. But I think that there must be, in these special cases, society has to wait longer than they wait here. And it doesn't matter that they say there have been negotiations for a year and a half. They knew, and Wilson Good knew, the moment they sent those police out with an eviction warrant, there was going to be firing and there was going to be a potential tragedy.
Gentlemen, we're out of time. Bill Kunstler, Frank Bowles, thank you very much for coming in on such short notice. Thank you. I'll be back in a moment.